Hello, today I want to see if large language models work correctly in the KDE Linux operating system. So KDE Linux is an operating system from the KDE community, large language models or LLMs. There are various variants of LLMs. There are very inexpensive online LLMs. There are also local LLMs. One of the simplest LLMs that we have access to is the Google Search AI mode. So just go to where you normally go for Google searches, for instance, google.com in your web browser. Issue a search string and then switch to the AI mode tab. Let's see if Google Search AI mode can create QML applications. So I'm asking the following. I am using the KDE Linux operating system. This Linux operating system has the Qt Framework 6 installed, has QML. Everything is installed in the directory /usr. And then the LLM should create just one file with extension QML. And in there should be a top level item of type, I know, window or rectangle with the specified size, 600 by 600 pixels. And inside there should be 20 different, I know, geometric shapes of different colors. We'll see exactly if it's going to use JavaScript, if it's going to what QML types is it actually going to use. So I can see width and height correct. I can see that it uses QQC2, so Qt Quick Controls version 2. So it uses the window type. Uses a repeater such that probably in the future I can easily change the number of geometric shapes to be shown in the same window. Yeah, I'm curious what's going to happen in there. Random width and height. Rectangles, squares, circles, ovals. Yeah, I was expecting, I don't know, 7 edges type stars or something. Let's take the output, so the QML text. I have a directory created. Let's create a file in here. How do we do that? I'm not sure if 20 is legal. Kwrite comes pre-installed in the KDE Linux operating system. There should be a trailing new line. And let's see how we run this thing. Probably we have the QML executable pre-installed. Nope. There's QML scene 2 to 6. Okay, I like the output. Even the colors are semi-transparent such that you can see the shape that's behind the foreground shape. And if we run it a second time, it's going to generate different and different and different shapes. Oh, I totally did not ask for such a thing, but it's a good development. Let's just background the entire process. So QML scene 20 QML. So Google search AI mode is just great. It has a very large database, has very fresh information, knows about most of the pages that are part of the Google search, the web pages. Is gratis. I have no clue how can it be gratis. It knows how to program, how to create QML files, SVG files, how to create logos, a ton of features for free. Another gratis online LLM chat. So the chat is gratis. The advanced Claude Code-like functionality is not. Is DeepSeek. So you go to platform.deepseek.com, create an account in there, top up with $2, and then chat for free in the bottom left sidebar, chat for free button. Asks again for the user and password. We're going to ask it the exact same question. So create a simple QML file that is a QML application. I would want more advanced geometric shapes other than rectangles and squares. Maybe, I don't know, trapezes or triangles or different types of stars. The same or similar way of doing it with a repeater, an array of colors. The title of the application is 20 geometric shapes, uses as top level QML item Qt quick controls window. I'm not sure exactly how. I don't see QQC2 in here imported. There's a copy button. So let's do it. Create new text file. $20.qml. Okay, right. Trailing new line. Let's see exactly what it does. So list of colors, math, random, a repeater, rectangle, which is a rectangle, rectangle, which is a circle, canvas, that's a triangle, star, that's a canvas. Cool. Cool features. Let's try to run it. Let's see how it says we should run this thing with QML6. So they don't exactly know what this operating system is, KDE Linux, that it's based on Arch Linux or not. What is the exact name of the executables that are part of the Qt framework? If it's QML, the executable that can display QML files, or if it's QML6. And also doesn't know if and which of the Qt framework version 6 packages are pre-installed in this operating system. Doesn't know if QML Sin is available or QML, the other executable. QML 6 is available in this operating system, and QML Sin. Let's try with QML 6 the way it says. So it suggests that we name the file shapes.qml. Let's see if that's valid. Okay, and we should run like it says. Cool. And since it uses math and random, it probably will generate very different shapes each time we run this thing. So let's run it the same way we did before, which is 4 times and at the same time. Okay. It uses the exact same shapes in the sense that all shapes have the exact same size, so the size is not random. There's different Z orders, so this blue triangle is on top of this green circle. And maybe the number of rounded rect yellow rectangles is 3 in here, 0 in here, 1 in here, and 3 in here. Yeah, an interesting thing. And it also put a title to the window, which is a nice touch, 20 geometric shapes. Yeah, I am satisfied. If it knows these things about the Qt 6 framework and QML, I'm going to guess that it knows a ton of things about other most often encountered graphical user interface toolkits. And even more so, it knows way more often used web UI frameworks. So very, very satisfied with both the width of its vocabulary, the database of data that it has, and also the quality of the results, the fact that the suggested QML file actually works, does what it should, doesn't have compile errors, runtime errors, and also knows how to run it. So satisfied 100% of the chat.deepseek.com. Again, gratis. You just create an online account and then you have it. I'm not even sure if you need to top up with $2 before having access to chat for free. Let's do something more in here. I don't really use the Dolphin file manager. My preferred file manager, graphical user interface one, is the twin pane Orthodox file manager from the KDE community, which is Crusader. Let's see how we install it in KDE Linux, probably via FlatHub. So Crusader doesn't seem to be available on FlatHub. I have searched for Crusader, didn't find anything. I have searched on Google FlatHub. Crusader doesn't say anything about Flatpaks. And the semi-official webpage, apps.kde.org/Crusader, also doesn't mention anything about FlatHubs or Flatpaks. I asked Google, how can I install KDE Crusader on the KDE Linux operating system? And the Google search AI mode doesn't have enough library, doesn't have enough data. Its vocabulary is not wide enough to know exactly what KDE Linux is. It thinks I want a KDE-based Linux. It doesn't know that KDE Linux is an actual operating system, doesn't know that /usr is immutable. And that's why it suggests that I install it via the package manager of my distribution, whatever that is. Yeah. Which is perfectly fine because KDE Linux is a very niche topic in the topic of Linux, which is a very niche topic to the library of data that's inside a large language model. So this was experience with online LLMs which are gratis. Let's now try to run local LLMs, so LLMs that run exclusively on my computer, do not touch the internet, and are gratis, but also don't require NPU, GPU, any hardware acceleration except a CPU central processing unit. The simplest way to do it, if possible, if you have that LLM packaged as a llama file, is to actually download a single file, a llama file from Mozilla community, and make that file executable on your computer and double click on it. Let's see if we have such a possibility, or the equivalent local LLM to the Google Search AI mode. And this is called Gemma 4E4B. This is the question: where is the llama file for the local CPU only LLM Gemma 4E4B? Download the binary. Which binary? It doesn't provide a full path to the file. Yeah, that's it. You make it executable either from the terminal and then you run. So, or from a file manager, you can go right click on it and security, properties, permissions, and execute, allow executing file as program. So I have asked Google Search AI mode, where is the llama file for the local CPU only Gemma 4E4B? And it suggests this URL, which is this one. And then I searched on Google, where is the homepage of llama file? It's a GitHub repository, mozilla-ai/llama file. And in here, at the very end of the page, there's pre-built llama files. And this takes us to a very similar place. I copied one of the URLs in here, so it's the same https://huggingface.co/mozilla-ai/llama file _0.10. So there's an entire organization in Hugging Face, Mozilla AI, and this version llama file _0.10. And we can see some of the files. Again, it's an entire LLM with its trained model, a web UI, support for GPU acceleration, NPU acceleration using various CPU, support for AMD 64, all wrapped into a single file. I'm not sure exactly which operating systems it supports. Maybe it supports both Linux and Windows, again, from a single file. That's what llama file is. The container, the file that contains a llama file, might support the operating systems Windows, macOS, Linux, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, the CPU architectures AMD 64 and ARM 64, all at the same time from just one executable, from just one file that you download on your computer, and then you execute. Okay, so in here we have Qwen mostly, and Gemma. Most are licensed Apache 2.0. And when I saw here, there's also smaller Gemma 4s. There's Gemma 4E2B, not just Gemma 4E4B. So this is a KDE Linux virtual machine, 14 vCPUs, and just 10 gigabytes of random access memory, which is not much for LLMs. And there's something reserved for the VRAM, so there's less than 9.5 gigabytes random access memory available. There's also ZRAM for swap. So we're going to need to download a local LLM that requires maybe less than 8 gigabytes of random access memory. I should have created the virtual machine with way more random access memory. So Gemma 4 E2B is probably too much. You can ask Google how much RAM does this LLM require, and then you paste the text from Hugging Face. Let's see what it says. So we need a minimum of 8 gigabytes random access memory, the model 5.2 gigabytes, and then there's should be enough space for basic operations, key value pair, caches, etc., context window. So hopefully this one works. If not, we'll search for something even smaller. Where was it? So there's 5.2 gigabytes. The smallest available llama file for this version from Gemma. They're sorted ascending by size. Let's try this file. Maybe it just works. If not, maybe I'll change the random access memory of the virtual machine. Maybe I can just stop the virtual machine, increase its random access memory, and then start it again. Okay, how do we download this thing? Okay, and let's put it in this directory. It's a very large file, 4.9 gigabytes. The download speed is maybe limited by huggingface.co. I have finished downloading Gemma 4 E2B, and I have also increased the size of random access memory. How do we see that size? I don't know where I can see the size of the random access memory in graphical user interface mode. But I know from the command line. So 20 gigabytes in size. What is that? And 20 gigabytes swap. So the swap is ZRAM. Okay, let's make the file executable. So either visually, properties, permissions, execute, allow execute file as program OK. And then we can run it. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to double click on it. I expect it to be a command line up. Okay, so it probably tries to detect if it can use Vulkan CUDA. And it decides to use, I don't know, probably the CPU. It's not that evident to me what it tried to do, what hardware it tries to use, and what hardware actually it uses. Let's see if it knows how to salute myself. So it's taking a lot of time to reply, which is a good moment to show bit by bit the thinking process instead of actually not doing anything for a minute. So this is what I wanted. A local LLM that's CPU only, doesn't use any sort of hardware in the sense of GPU or GPU, DGPU or NPU. So that's not integrated general graphics processing unit and neural processing unit. So it says, greetings, I salute you as well. Okay, so the speed is going to totally be an issue, and maybe the width of the database. Let's give it the hardest thing it can do, which is actually the exact same problem. So if it's going to succeed, it's going to take about 5 minutes with infinite GPUs and speed, but with 0 hardware GPUs, it's going to take what? Maybe 10 minutes per second, 60 seconds per second, so that's 60 times as much. So a number of hours. Let's see how it does. We are on the Linux operating system KDE Linux. Qt framework 6 is installed. Create a GUI app. Go. Yeah, the tokenization is wrong. It's not KDE on Linux. It's Linux KDE. The KDE Linux, the operating system. Yeah, so again, my estimate is 60 times 5 minutes. That's a ton of time. 5 hours. The database is wide enough. It has all of the data necessary in the database. Yes, we need the main.cpp. Yes, we need the main.qml. Yes, we need a QML element of type window to be top level. There's a canvas. There's rectangles. There's circles, ellipses, path. Random colors, yes. Either 20 elements hard-coded or with some repetitive instruction. Repetitor, yes. Repeater QML type, yes. JavaScript, yes. Colors random, yes. Shape random positioning XY, correct. Okay, indeed, I asked for just one file, no main.cpp, just one QML file. So it's going to scratch this idea with QGUI application and main.cpp CPP file. At this point, it's going to create 2 files. Qt Creator IDE. Wow, integrated development environment. QMake or CMake. Wow, it's almost, I know, half done. And maybe it took 2 minutes. Wow, the speed is incredibly incredible. My guesstimate was very different from the reality. We'll see when it actually finishes. It could be, I don't know, 10 minutes versus what I anticipated to be 6 hours. Yes, all of the things that are written here ring a bell. I'm not sure if they're perfectly correct, but they totally look kind of correct. Yeah, it says Qt 6, but then it provides a version with imports, which it probably should not do. 20 color shapes for the title of the window. Function to generate the shapes and component on completed for a QML element of type item, which is the basic type in QML, the atom. RGB, all random. X format, hexadecimal. It's not immediately clear to me how LLMs work because they don't backtrack. They decide something and they continue and they continue and they continue, and they have the final solution in the first minute or maybe in the first millisecond. And then they just complete, they just show the final solution piecemeal, but they have the final solution up front. Yeah, I'm going to be old again, so incredibly small model. It's 4.3 gigabytes on the disk. As far as I know, it's extremely recent. So Gemma 4 E2B, ITQ 5KM. Extremely small random access memory usage. Let's actually compute. I'm not sure how to read these numbers, but 20 gigabytes is way, way, way more than enough for this local LLM. Yeah, so 0 swap usage, which is perfect. And there's a bigger sibling if you need just something with a bit better database. So the comparison is between this one and this one. So Gemma 4 E2B versus Gemma 4 E4B with random access memory size increase of 2 gigabytes and a half. Probably a bit more, but still should fit in 20 gigabytes of random access memory easily. And again, the data that I can see in its database is, wow, extremely generous knows a ton of technologies, it knows a ton of fringe things, it knows a ton of Linux things, it knows a ton of different variants of JavaScript. It knows QML, it knows QMake, it knows CMake, C++. Wow, so the database is really extremely large here. And then the speed is way incredibly fast. Incredibly fast. So it's again, it just presents the final solution from the very start. From the very start, it decided the fact that there's going to be a main.cpp. From the very start, in the very, I don't know, in the first 2 minutes, it already had the first line in the main.cpp file, and then the second and the third. And then in the first minute, it already knew that there will be a main.qml. In the first 3 minutes, it already wrote the first line in the main.qml file. So writing the final solution is line by line, and it takes a while, but then again, it knows everything from the start. Otherwise, it would, I know, write 3 lines of the QML file and then stop and say, whoa, this is Qt 6 and we don't have access to, I know, to Qt quick controls too. Let's delete whatever I said until now and let's create the main.qml file in a different way. And that's it. So it seems to have been less than 5 minutes. Yeah, maybe it's just a sensation, but it seems to have taken less than 5 minutes. So at this incredible speed, I can also, I know, ask again and make sure this time it's just one file, nothing else. Let's do that. No QMake, no CMake, just one file, main.qml. Yeah, everything just impresses me. So it's gratis to download. The download speed was really fast. It was, I know, 25 megabytes per second. Very small on the disk, 4.3 gigabytes. I can't prove that it uses more than 10 gigabytes of random access memory. Doesn't swap anything to disk. The database of information all resides on my disk. It doesn't touch the internet at all. And still it knows complete information, almost complete information on millions of different technologies. Not just programming, many other areas of the human knowledge than programming. I probably can ask it how to, I know, how to create an axe with a forge or something. Yeah, and then the speed is way beyond my expectations. The speed in this case is identical to the online to the speed of gratis online LLMs and the good ones. Well, I know, top 10 online LLMs. around 5-6 seconds, around 5-6 minutes. Yeah, scratch what I said about speed. So the speed is really good in this example, but I have rewatched how the online LLMs work, and the online LLMs take about, I don't know, 5 seconds to answer to this question, and the local LLM takes probably more than 5 minutes. So the difference in speed is what I actually guesstimated, which is 60 times slower. Yeah, but still in this case where it doesn't fix issues, it doesn't we don't have an experience like Claude Code where I have given it a more complex problem to do, which is create a graphical user interface application using QML that is a Tetris game clone. I used the Claude Code with various LLMs, online LLMs, and Claude Code has asked the LLM about how to create it, and then it entered a development loop where it tried to fix coding issues, lint issues, compiler issues, and then it tried to do more, which is run the graphical user interface application written in QML, just run it from the command line in order to see the what's written to standard error and standard output to see if there are cute warnings or cute errors, and then it fixed all of these. And then it tried, after it saw that the application starts correctly, it tried to find out how to kill the application. It killed it, and then it tried to open the application with in a headless mode, so with a dummy X server. And then it kept fixing issues even like this. And then when no more issues were encountered, finally it started the QML application with a embedded X server. And it found graphical glitches even like that. It took screenshots, fixed issues. So it asked for the first version of the app, the online LLM, and then it entered improvement loops, debugger loops, linting loops, until, and it kept fixing all of the issues that could be found in that loop. Then it improved the loop and found more and fixed more and more issues until it has managed to display the application, take screenshots of the application, and didn't find anything obviously wrong with the application. So that, in that case, using Claude Code and online LLMs, it took about 5 to 6 minutes. But with my prompt, currently, I have used Google Search, AI Mode, and DeepSeek Chat, and both returned after around 5 seconds. And again, what we see here with the Gemma 4 E2B is 60 times that much, which is around 5 minutes instead of 5 seconds with the online LLMs. Okay, so it finished, and it has created a similar QML file, if not identical to what we saw previously. It seems to be identical just by looking at visually to the thing. And then it says that probably you want to use QML scene, but then it's maybe not correct when it says that QML scene is for compiling QML. You don't compile QML, you whatever. You parse it. Let's see if we're going to have success right now. So new text file, main.qml. And let's paste the output. The output is Markdown. I have used the local LLM from the command line, but probably I can also use it from a web UI. Okay, how do we get a new tab? Control T. Doesn't work like that. Okay, so it says QML scene, auto-completion, and then auto-completion, no, main QML. Okay, so we'll need to ask it to fix this issue. But I'm not sure if this is a session, if it remembers what it thought previously. So this is a chat session and it is a session, so it has memory. It's not stateless, it's stateful. It says mental check recall, main.qml, shapes list, property, var, shapes list, array. So it does know the content of main.qml, even if it doesn't have access to the hard disk. It cannot actually read files. I'm not sure it identified the issue. It tried something. Let's see if it's better. And it runs. Let's create a second file in here. main2.qml. It's the exact same thing. Let's see how we can install a difference viewer graphical user interface one on KDE Linux. Let's see if my preferred GUI diff viewer is available here. So meld. It maybe doesn't have metadata about the packages that can be installed from FlatHub, the Flatpak online app store. How do we search for apps? Install. Let's see what name does this app have. What's its ID? How can I start it from the command line? I don't know. It doesn't say. Folder. No, I don't know. Yes, AUX. How do I start meld? All applications, it should be in the start menu. Letter M. No, it's not in here. And it should be probably under development. Maybe something is wrong with this Flatpak app. Where is it? I don't see it in the all apps list. I should have seen its icon. The search does work and finds it. It's not in any of these categories. Yeah. Probably a bug in this start menu in KDE. Edit application. So it's org.gnome.meld. How do we start that thing? Okay, and I need the two paths for the files. This guy. Copy location. Cool. Okay, and now let's look at what the online LLM Google Search AI mode suggests. Okay, so it says that JavaScript is part of the QML file. There's JavaScript push and will not do QML binding things. So you need to do all sorts of workarounds instead of javascript.push and I don't know, assigning. So maybe the changes are the ones which are commented. Okay, so if the changes are the lines that are commented out, let's copy the file. How do we do that? Copy. Main. What is this? Google search.qml. Okay, so uses a temporary. As model, it uses a more complete name. And then it does this reassign. Let's actually use meld for this thing. So main 2 versus this guy. Copy location. So model shapes list versus container.shapes list. This temporary array where it can push versus shapes list which it cannot be used. The assignment to trigger the binding. Yeah, I'm curious if the solution from Google Search Online AI mode works. How do we test? And it works. So the conclusions here, Gemma for E2B doesn't have a large enough database, doesn't have enough data in its database to know this advanced knowledge about QML, about how retriggering bindings when accompanied with QML repeater works. So I guess that I can ask it a million times to fix that issue and it will provide still the same solution. It already provided the best possible solution that it could come up with in the first place. So my first prompt was good enough. It created the perfect QML file that could be created given its entry information, so the database that it contains. Whereas Google Search AI mode has access to a way larger database, so it knew very deep and not that often encountered knowledge about repeaters and QML bindings, etc. So it could provide the fix again in the first try. And then there's a difference of speed. Yeah, so maybe with not that much knowledge of the QML and Qt framework, you can't fix, I know, maybe half of the issues using a local LLM, using this local LLM, so Gemma for E2B, because its database is not large enough. Doesn't seem to be that the database inside this llama file is too old. Doesn't seem to have only data about older versions of the Qt 6 framework. Doesn't seem to be that, but again, there's just 4.5 gigabytes and there should be information about all of the desktop graphical user interface frameworks out there, about 20 different operating systems, about many other things that make up programming, like web programming and SQL and databases and NoSQL and caching and configuring HTTPS servers and Redis and who knows what else. And then it needs to also contain all sorts of information that are not related to programming in this very small file. And the very last thing that I want to do is to actually run Claude Code, the text user interface app with the online LLM that is inexpensive. Let's see, because we're in such a Linux operating system that I don't really know how to use for certain things. I do not know how to install Crusader in here. I don't know how to install Google Code in here. Let's see how far we get. Well, first of all, we'll need to install Claude Code. Before doing that, I remembered that Llama files can have a web UI. So this is what I have used. I have started the Llama file, but this time with command line parameters, --server. At the end of starting, it says where you should navigate to. So to this URL, HTTP is the protocol, and then localhost and port 8080. Don't press Ctrl C for copying inside the terminal. How do we do that? Square root of 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 17 tokens. Yeah, the chat web UI is instantly familiar. It resembles the chat UI in Google Search AI mode. It resembles to the chat deepseek.com UI. Wow, I didn't know that they don't have a square root math function. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that the square root is 1 for each of the increasing numbers. So there should be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So 4 ones, 5 ones. Oh, interesting. So it actually knows powers of 2, knows how to compare numbers, so less than, greater than for numbers, integer, math. So it already, I can already see the result here, these 5 ones. I can also see that this is markdown because it gets refreshed each time a new part of the markdown appears. It loses my selection. Cool. Correct. Okay, so that's the web UI of a Llama file, the one for Gemma 4 that uses the least possible random access memory size. Let's close this tab and also stop the server. Hopefully, at this point, the Llama file doesn't consume any more computer resources, CPU, or random access memory. So these are my instructions on how to set up Claude Code with DeepSeek. I have the DeepSeek account. I need to install Claude Code, which probably is installed in ~/.local, which should work on this operating system. Let's see where are the instructions. I don't want to install any desktop GUI thing. If I click on download for Linux, it takes me to desktop-linux, which I don't want. Read documentation. Terminal. Linux sounds okay. Let's get a terminal. Okay, so it uses tilde/.local, hopefully, and tilde/.local/bin should be in the path environment variable. Let's check that. Yes, it is. It's actually the first position in the path environment variable. Which claude? Cool. Now, how do we install Visual Studio Code in here? Do we have snaps? We don't, right? No snap. Okay. Let's see if we can install Visual Studio Code just for my user, per user. Other downloads. So tar gzip AMD64, which is this guy. Okay, how do we run this thing? It's a tar.gz probably. Let's extract it. How do we extract in graphical user interface mode? Extract. Here. Let's see what the contents look like. Bin locales, yeah. Let's put it inside a better place. How do we do that? Okay. How do we copy this directory? Let's just move it. Okay. No midnight commander. Let's name this thing. Or not. Not. It's a good idea to not rename it. Okay. And we should have a new directory just for this thing. Yes. Okay, let's see how we start Visual Studio Code. Where is it? Cool, so there is an executable top level. Let's use that. So tilde/.opt tab and then code and then the current directory. I don't need this. Continue without. Continue. Get started. Close this tab. Close the welcome page. Restricted mode. Trust. Okay, and then continue with the tutorial. So I have installed Visual Studio Code and Claude code. Next up, I'll need to create this file and edit it. How do we do that? I don't know how to edit a file. The file does not exist. Wow. I'm extremely clumsy without my tools. We copy paste these configuration settings. And in here I'll need to use my API key that I have created inside the platform.deepseek.com account. Okay, so let's continue. We have created a temporary directory. We have Visual Studio Code that has opened that directory. I'm starting Claude code. Things look okay until now, so press enter, 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 enter. Okay, first of all, let's see that we're not using any anthropic anything. It tried to install the Visual Studio Code extension and it failed because I should restart my IDE and try again. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I have started Claude. It didn't run the first run wizard, so it doesn't actually know what integrated development environment I'm using. I have asked install the IDE extension again. It doesn't know if we're in IntelliJ IDEA, which is not a great sign. Let's see if from command line we can install this extension. Yes, of course not. So did it succeed or not? Installed 0. Let's see if we can install it manually. Yeah, not good signs. Do you trust? Yes. So it says uninstall and I can see already the extensions. So this button, for instance. Okay, probably a good idea to restart the IDE at this point. Maybe even restart the computer. Who knows? Let's background it if it doesn't already. Okay, Control L, load. Let's continue with the tutorial. Okay, let's see if the integration works by asking the LLM to salute me. Okay, so very fast. I still did not see anywhere saying that it knows the model. So right now it knows, says usage by model DeepSeek minus chat, which is the correct model that I want to use. So there's two models, DeepSeek Reasoner, the expensive one, and DeepSeek Chat, the inexpensive one. Both are inexpensive, but this is the inexpensiver out of these two. Okay. Hopefully this is it. Let's see a bit how we would program. Let's ask it exactly the same question and then let's increase the difficulty. Let's see a bit also the files that it wants to create. Okay, so first of all, it tries to find QML scene, which is strange that it starts like that. And that it asks for interaction just to find out the QML settings in this, where it could have just created the file without asking for anything. Maybe this is Claude Code's doing, not the LLM's doing. Okay, the integration between Claude Code and Visual Studio Code, so two different vendors, Microsoft and Anthropic, works okay. Do you want to create a file like the ones that we have seen before? So rectangle, circle, triangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, pentagon, square, diamond, hexagon. So yeah, again, I would say that, I don't know, maybe this time it was luckier, or is this LLM accepting the breadth, the width of the database better than Google Search AI mode? Do you want to create yes? Wants to run QML6 shapes, it searches for the disk, so it knows probably the name of the executable. Okay, so it finished and now it's showing a result. Okay, let's, what can we do? Let's ask it to have the shapes falling from the sky. Okay, and The geometric shapes fall from the sky. When appearing from the top, make sure the shapes are new ones. Keep less than 40 always visible. Okay, so we have 20 shapes. They use QML. They're shown in a single window, but they don't move. So what I'm asking is to have them appear in a random fashion from the top, fall, and then get out of the window through the bottom of the window. Yeah, before committing this thing, we should actually put under version control the current version of the project that we have. So let's see if we can do that. New terminal, git init in here. Good. No git GUI. That's a problem. I don't know how to function without git GUI. And I don't know how to install it here. Yeah, I'm very lost when I cannot install the tools that I always use, which is, I know, Visual Studio Code, Qt Creator, Git GUI, Midnight Commander, KDE Crusader, a Chromium-based web browser, and Firefox. I know, Inkscape, GIMP, OBS Studio, these things. And then a ton of command line tools, which maybe I can always install in my home directory, if they're not a system service. So let's see if I can use the command line instead of git GUI. Let's see what files we have in here. Where is the .git directory? Wow. Wrong command line. Okay, so there's a hidden .git directory with a project and then just one visible file with extension QML. So again, I don't know how to stage this file. Maybe one by one. Does it know how to ignore, to not put under version control the .git directory? Let's actually see that. Okay, next. Okay, and commit. Okay. So git commit -m. Initial commit. And I don't have an identity yet. And this identity sounds cool. Copy paste of text does work with select and then middle click paste. Okay. Hopefully this is it. So we have a version of the application where the shapes stay put, don't move. And now it's trying to create a second version of the app where the shapes come up from the top, and then there's gravity, and there's no reason for me to actually look at what's happening here. It's not really clear. It just destroyed the entire existing source code base, converted from using QML objects to doing case statements inside JavaScript. These things: case triangle, case pentagon, case. Okay, let's see if it works. How do we do that? We can't easily. Do you want to overwrite? Yes. Do you want to run and kill? Yes. There's a theme command line. Whoa. Yeah, this thing makes for a, for a screensaver. Let's see what happens if you maximize. Wow, it knows that too. So if I changed the shape, the width and height of the window, it computed the new dimensions, and now it's raining from all of the positions possible in the width, so on 0x axis. Cool. And the fact that things rotate, it's also unexpected. And the fact that it wanted to put the night sky as a background is a good idea. Yeah, I could look at these things for for a number of minutes, maybe hours. Yeah. Let's ask it if it can invent 4 more types of shapes. Maybe that's the next iteration. Yeah, exactly that. So it says if we want more tweaks, like more shapes, we should tell it. Okay, let's also put this thing under version control. Git commit -a. What does that thing do? Like this. Falling shapes. Okay, let's ask it to actually make things configurable. So with up arrow key, create 10 more shapes. Increase by 10. Like this. Alt backspace works or not. With up arrow key, I want to increase by 10 the number of shapes. And with no shapes should fall vertically with 0 angle, zero and 10 degrees, similar to raindrops when the wind is mild. I'm not sure if it's going to make the wind blow just from one direction for all of the shapes, or if each shape will have its own individual wind. Angled rain-like fall, not oscillating horizontal drift, but a constant trajectory. Yeah, let's see. We're in for a surprise, right? What are you trying to do? Running in the background. What are you talking about? Let's run it manually. Okie dokie. So we didn't see that there are issues when it started the application because it has what? It failed that starting the app failed with exit status 144. Nope. So only run the app in the foreground. Such that you can see the errors on stdout and stdr. I can copy paste multiple lines and it works. Let's proceed, please. Where's the wind? Oh, no wind yet. Okay, let's maximize. And right arrow key should be the wind. Nope. Up arrow key, increase the number. And it says that now the max shapes count is not 40 but 50 with an on-screen display. Okay, so no wind and no down. Let's do the commit though. Status AM, so that's increment shapes count. Okay. Similarly to up arrow key, it should also implement the down arrow key. Yes. Does it have an operator to run outside this application, outside the REPL of read evaluate print loop of Claude Code with the exclamation point? Cool. Up arrow keys 130. Down arrow key. Yeah, probably this triangle should be downwards facing when we decrement. So it waits until there's just 9 shapes on the screen. Cool. Left and right, so the wind doesn't work. Next commit. Okidoki. This other guy. The wind should blow from left to right when I press the right arrow key on my keyboard. Should blow increasingly faster. When I press once the right arrow key on my keyboard. Yeah, so the number of tokens that are being used seems to be incredibly small, and it anticipates a ton of the things that I have never thought of. The instant when I said wind, it immediately inferred that I want all shapes to have kind of a similar trajectory. It guessed that I want there to be a wind speed, which I actually wanted. and that the shapes should respond to changes in wind speed instantly. So is that done? Okay, how do we run this thing? Oh, so the older shapes respect the 600 pixels max width, whereas the newer ones respect the new max height. Cool. Okay, so let's increase the number a bit and make the wind blow towards the right. So on-screen display OSD again, wind 3 degrees towards the right, which I can't actually prove exists. So let's see this thing. Yes, it exists, but it's not at all obvious what's happening here because the number of degrees it's way small. So 30 is maximum. Cool. Yeah, what I actually wanted was to have all of the shapes move in different trajectories, and that would make them extremely similar to a screensaver. In screensavers, shapes kind of move, right? But they don't all move in the same way, directions, pattern. So I wanted the actual angle to be random for each of the shapes. So now I cannot decrease the wind angle because I did not implement left arrow key. Okay, let's commit that. Let's implement left arrow key and then pause, and that should be it. Okay. Wind angle. Towards right. It's strange that it didn't anticipate that I also want left arrow key wind angle towards left. Very strange. In my previous experience, it implemented a million of features that I did not ask for. Yeah, maybe it senses that it doesn't have enough freedom and it should increment. We should increment. Okay. Similar thing for left arrow key. Control O with additional details for the listening. On left pressed. Maximum -30. So it actually does math and angles and degrees, not radians, and geometry, etc., etc. Okay, looks okay. How do we maximize? Alt F3, Alt X, increase 200 max. Cool. wind towards right. Yeah, something's wrong here because there's a triangle where shapes cannot exist depending on the angle of the wind. So in this case, in the bottom left triangle, there are no shapes. It's just not possible that shapes travel through there because shapes get born at y coordinate 0 and x coordinates between 0 and width of window. So they should actually start outside of the window and enter the window like this to have this triangle also useful. So that's another feature that can be implemented. Okay, and go to the other direction. Okay, let's make P work as pause, and that should be it. The keyboard key should pause. So a property for paused, key press for the letter P, pause label, probably for the on-screen display, and no timer, and running, and visibility. Okay. Alt F3, Alt X, up arrow key, and P, paused. Cool. Yeah, there's all sorts of improvement that you can do starting from here. You can tell it to take a screenshot. If it doesn't know how, you tell it the command to execute. We're on Wayland, so I'm not sure what that command would be. And then tell it to center the post text in the enveloping rectangle, rounded rectangle. And then you can tell it to unpause with escape. You can tell it to change this the shape of this triangle to be downwards shape facing when you press the down arrow key. Tell it to not leave these triangles empty, etc. The number of features that you can add in here is huge. You can ask for R key to be random wind speeds for each of the shape. F to be full screen. Okay, so this would be it. I'm going to do maybe a last git commit. Pause. So this is it. I'm not that proficient to developing for the KDE community using the Linux operating system KDE Linux, because again, I do not know how to install the minimal amount of tools that I usually use. Yeah, I don't know how to install command line tools, so Emacs, NoEx, and MC. I do not know how to install the tools that I could install previously in KDE Linux when Snap was available, such as Visual Studio Code. Yeah, Visual Studio Code, I managed to install it right now inside //.opt by unzipping the tarball for AMD 64 from the official website of Microsoft Visual Studio Code. And then I didn't know how to install Crusader. Maybe I can build it from scratch using KDE src-build. But then, I will have all of the tools that I usually use, but each installed in a very different way. Qt Creator, probably I'm going to install it the way I always do it, which is using the Qt Online Installer. Yeah. And then for using LLMs, large language models under the Linux operating system KDE Linux, things did work. All of the things that I tried did work. Some of them took me longer because again, I'm used to using easily, Crusader and other tools, Kate. Kate you can install easily from Discover App Store. There's a ton of power if, for instance, you want to start programming for any open source community. The amount of power that I find in Google search AI mode is wow. The amount of power that I find in the online LLM from DeepSeek chat is great. The fact that I can use this standard combination that a ton of people use nowadays in commercial programming, which is Visual Studio Code plus Claude Code plus a powerful LLM, is available here, and it's extremely, extremely inexpensive. Let's see actually the numbers. So usage says $2.5 and 36K output tokens. And a big part of the cost is the cache read 2.3 million tokens. So this is just estimated costs. This is what Claude Code guesses the cost is. Probably if I would use the normal Sonnet, 5 LLM, online LLM from Anthropic, but I'm not using that. I'm using a LLM that's, in my opinion, as powerful, probably more powerful than Sonnet 5, maybe similarly powerful as Sonnet 4.6. And the cost for today was 3 cents. 3 US dollar cents. Although Claude Code estimated it at 2.54. So again, this number that I keep seeing, which is platform.deepseek.com, being as powerful in my experience as the Anthropic LLMs, but at least 100 times less expensive. I'm not sure how I can actually use $2 US in less than 1 month with my current usage. So this is it. Thank you.